The final ritual. The blood moon rose like a glowing wound in the sky, casting a red shadow over Wicker Street. Inside the cursed house, everything was still, but not silent. The whispers had stopped. The scratching had gone quiet. But that only meant one thing. Mr. Adams was ready. James barricaded the doors with furniture, though he knew it was useless. Clara sat in a corner, mumbling scripture with eyes wide open. Sarah clung to Eli, refusing to let him out of her sight. The air was thick. The walls no longer looked like wood. They pulsed like veins. The house was alive and it was hungry. Suddenly Eli stood up, eyes blank. "I have to go now," he said in a voice that wasn't his. James grabbed him. "No, you don't." But Eli's body jerked and twisted as if pulled by invisible strings. "He's calling me from below." That's when Sarah remembered the trapdoor in the basement, the one her dad had found sealed but never opened. "I think that's where he is," she whispered, "where Mr. Adams is waiting." They had no choice. They went down, James holding Eli, Sarah holding a flashlight, Clara trailing behind them, half-possessed and humming a funeral tune. The basement was colder than death. The trapdoor was there, now wide open. Stairs led downward into total blackness. It wasn't just dark. It felt like stepping into the mouth of something ancient. They descended slowly. The room below was massive, hidden beneath the foundation. Lit by flickering candles, it was lined with bones, children's bones. And in the center stood a stone altar, soaked in black-red stains. Symbols circled it, glowing faintly as if breathing. And standing by the altar, with his back turned, was Mr. Adams. He looked human, almost. A tall, thin man in a long black coat and wide-brimmed hat. But his limbs were too long. His fingers moved like worms. His head tilted in unnatural angles. And his voice was like a dead choir singing backwards. "At last," he said, "the offering has come. The blood moon calls. The temple is ready." James stepped forward. "You're not taking my son." Mr. Adams turned. His face was wrong. No eyes. Just holes that dripped shadows. A wide mouth that smiled too far, full of rotted teeth and black fog. "He was promised," Mr. Adams whispered. "By the first scream, by the first tear. You brought him here. The boy belongs to me." Suddenly, the walls around them writhed. Dozens of shadowy children crawled out, moaning, weeping, chanting. "Join us! Join us! Join us!" Sarah screamed, clutching her ears. Clara fell to her knees, laughing hysterically. Eli floated out of James's arms, lifted by invisible hands, toward the altar. "No!" James lunged, but the shadows pushed him back. Then Sarah began to glow. A faint light pulsed from her chest, warm, golden, soft. Her eyes rolled back and she began to speak in a language none of them knew. The ground trembled. The light grew stronger. Mr. Adams screamed, smoke pouring from his eye holes. "No, she is one of them!" The altar cracked. Sarah stepped forward, her voice now deep and echoing. "You have no power over light. You fed on fear, but your time has ended." Clara blinked, her mind returning. "Sarah?" Sarah touched the altar. The bones shattered. The darkness pulled away. The shadows hissed and curled into smoke. Mr. Adams charged toward her, but the light exploded from Sarah's body, piercing through him like a blade. He howled, not in pain, but in rage. "This is not the end," he shrieked. "I will return. I always return." His body cracked open. His hat fell. His coat turned to ash. His scream became a wind that rushed through the room. And then silence. Eli dropped gently to the floor, unharmed. The candles went out. The walls stopped breathing. The evil was gone. They emerged from the basement, blinking in the morning light. The blood moon had vanished. The house stood silent, still, lifeless. Sarah collapsed into Clara's arms. "I don't know what happened. I just knew what to say." "You saved us," James whispered, kissing her forehead. A week later, they sold the house to the town for demolition. But on the last day, James walked through it one more time. The house was empty, but something called him to the attic. There, on the chair, sat the black hat, untouched by dust. The twist of light. The black hat still sat there. James stared at it in the attic as a cold breeze swept through the room, though all the windows were shut. For a long moment, he considered walking away, leaving it, sealing it all in the past. But something made him reach out. His fingers hovered above the brim when, "Daddy, don't." It was Eli's voice from behind. James turned. Eli stood at the top of the attic ladder, eyes wide. "He's not gone. He's hiding in the hat." James shivered. He nodded slowly and wrapped the hat in a thick blanket. He locked it in a box, sealed it with nails, and left it in the church's care. Father Caleb promised to bury it in a sacred place, far from any home. The Johnsons moved to another town, quiet, sunlit, and ordinary. But life wasn't the same. Sarah had changed. She was no longer the nervous, anxious girl who feared closets and creaking doors. She had grown calm, almost too calm. There was something ancient behind her eyes, something wise. She had dreams of things that hadn't happened yet, and they always came true. Clara returned to normal slowly, though she sometimes jolted awake, gasping, whispering the preacher's hymn. Eli never drew again, but he smiled more now, laughed freely. The shadows were gone from his eyes. It was over, or so they thought. One night, 6 months later, a new family arrived at the demolished site on Wicker Street. A single mother named Hannah and her teenage son, Leo. They were shown blueprints for a brand new modern home to be built on the land. Cheap deal, nice neighborhood. As they signed the contract, a breeze swept in from nowhere, flipping the final page. Leo frowned. There, scribbled in faint red ink at the bottom of the last paper, was one name. Adams. He blinked. The name vanished. He said nothing. They moved in. For a while, things were perfect. Clean house, friendly neighbors, no strange noises, no nightmares. Until Leo started dreaming about a man in a black hat. "Mom, there's a guy watching me from the window at night," he said one morning. "There's no one there, baby," Hannah replied, brushing it off. But then the lights flickered at 3:03 a.m. The radio turned on, whispering scripture backward, and the basement door began to open on its own. Back in their new town, Sarah woke up that night screaming. She saw flames in her dreams, a boy with dark hair on a stone altar, the man in the black hat smiling again. Clara ran in, holding her tight. "It's okay, baby, it's just a nightmare." "No, Mama," Sarah whispered, eyes glowing faintly. "He's trying again. He found a new family." James didn't need convincing. He packed a bag, grabbed his Bible, and drove with Sarah and Eli back to Wicker Street. When they arrived, the house wasn't visible from the road. A thick fog surrounded it, heavy and unnatural. They stepped into it. The grass was dead. The air smelled like burnt offerings. Leo's house wasn't new anymore. It looked old, warped, cursed. They knocked, no answer. Sarah placed her hand on the doorknob and it clicked open. Inside, the house was wrong. The walls pulsed like the old one. Shadows slithered under furniture, and at the end of the hallway, standing beneath a flickering light bulb, Mr. Adams. His body was sharper now, less human. Horns curled behind his ears. His smile bled. "You should have stayed away," he rasped. "The boy is mine." James held out a cross. "We banished you. You only delayed me. Evil doesn't die, it waits." Suddenly, Leo floated from the shadows, eyes shut, mouth moving silently. "He's trying to break through," Sarah whispered. "This isn't just about Leo. Mr. Adams is trying to come back fully, into the world." James looked at Sarah. "Can you stop him again?" She shook her head. "Not alone." Eli stepped forward. "I can help." "No!" Clara cried. But Sarah nodded. "You have light, Eli. He didn't take it from you. We can end it together." They formed a circle, James, Clara, Sarah, Eli, with Leo at the center. Mr. Adams shrieked and charged, but hit a wall of invisible force. Sarah and Eli began chanting, voices rising in a powerful rhythm, not taught by man, but remembered from before time. The walls groaned, the floor cracked. Mr. Adams screamed again, but now his voice wavered. The shadows tried to enter the children, but the light from their hands burned through the darkness. A great blinding flash filled the room. And then, silence. Mr. Adams was gone. Not banished, not waiting. destroyed. Later, Leo woke up in his mother's arms, confused but safe. Sarah smiled at him. It's over. Clara held her children close, weeping softly. Outside, the fog cleared. Sunlight poured through the windows for the first time. Birds sang. The grass turned green before their eyes. Months passed. Sarah was invited to speak at churches, spiritual centers, even schools. People called her a miracle child. But she always shook her head and said, "I'm just a girl who listened when the world was crying." Eli returned to painting, only now he painted light, hope, angels. James became a speaker for survivors of spiritual trauma. Clara found peace again. The family was whole. And as for Mr. Adams, he was never seen again. His black hat burned in holy fire, ashes scattered in the sea, gone for good. The end.